All right, hello everyone, and welcome to SCO's January webinar on financial aid at SCO. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you all are staying safe and healthy. My name is Avery Cunningham, a Student Services and Admissions Officer here at SCO. And before we get started, I ask that we all use proper Zoom etiquette by keeping microphones muted unless speaking, limiting background noise, and respecting all of this webinar's attendees and facilitators. We will have time for questions towards the end of the webinar, but in the meantime, if you do have any questions or concerns that need immediate attention, please use the chat feature at the bottom of your screen to communicate with us. Today, Michelle Hunt Davenport, our Director of Financial Aid, will talk through how one applies for financial aid, budgets the funds they're awarded, and how you can make every dollar work for you and your optometry school education. This webinar is being recorded and will be free and available to view on our website next week. With that, I turn it over to you, Ms. Hunt Davenport.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for participating in this webinar. And we'll go ahead and get right to it. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about how do you apply for aid at SCO, how much aid you can borrow per year, what types of aid, financial aid are available, how and when I receive my student loans. We'll have a little debt management information, and then we'll have some time for questions. Next slide, please. Next slide. So there are some forms that are very important that you will need to complete. One is FERPA, that's the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. That form allows you to determine who can receive your information. If you want your parents to have access to your financial aid information, you will need to complete that form and list who you want to receive the information. And then also, we have a form called Rights and Responsibilities form. So if you're taking out student loans, you will need to complete those forms. And the forms are not on mail or email, although we can send them to you that way if you desire, but they're on your Net Partner account. And I will be sending out information with instructions on how to access Net Partner, and you will find those forms there. Also, you will need a Federal Student Aid FSA ID if you don't have one already. That is how you will sign your FAFSA. You can obtain that ID at studentaid.gov. That's also where you're going to complete your FAFSA. That's where you also are going to complete the online master promissory note. The master promissory note is if you take out student loans, that's where you agree to pay back the loans. And then you also must complete interest loan counseling. And all of that can be done at the studentaid.gov website. Next slide, please. So how much aid can you borrow? And what you see here is an example of our current budget. The budget will change. We have not updated it yet because we're waiting on our tuition rates for 24-25. Probably won't get that until the end of February. But as of today, tuition, normal tuition is $41,536. If you're on a contract seat, which we talked about that in the new student interview luncheon, it's whatever the states pay is a pass-through to the tuition. Again, fees, books, equipment, even health insurance, we don't know if those rates are going up or not. But when we get a budget in place, we'll send it out to all students. As a first-year student, you're only enrolled 8 months, so you have an 8-month budget. So that's pretty much what that says. Next slide, please. And again, this is more information on the budget, and these amounts are for this current school year. They may not stay the same for the 23-24 school year. So what's important to know about the budget is that you need to live within your budget, meaning getting roommates for housing so that you're not paying more than $909 a month for rent, food, We've allocated for this year $600 a month, etc. So the important thing is living within your budget so you don't run out of money. Next slide, please. What types of loans do we offer? There is the health professional student loan. This is a loan that's offered through the Health and Human Services agency. The amount varies. Typically, the maximum you can get is $8,090. It is a need-based loan and is based on your parents' financial information that will determine your eligibility. As of today, you cannot submit your parent information in your FAFSA. So we're working on a plan to obtain that information, and we'll be sending out something shortly. The other loan, other two loans, I should say, are offered by the Department of Education. One is the direct Stafford unsubsidized loan. That loan you can borrow up to $40,500 per year. And then the direct graduate plus loan. Once we establish your budget, you can borrow up to the cost of attendance based on your credit approval. So this loan does require a credit check. Next slide, please. And again, these are just some dollar amounts showing the average loan amount. And again, it's for these numbers you see are current numbers. Those numbers may change for the 24-25 school year. Next slide, please. So what if you need more money? The only way you can get more money is that we increase your budget. And there are some circumstances in which we can do that. It's called a professional judgment appeal. So if you have repairs that need to be made to your car, medical expenses, a computer, things of that nature, with proper documentation, we can increase your budget. Things that we cannot increase the budget for it is automobile payments. We cannot pay for a car, credit card payments, pet expenses. Those type things are not approved by the Department of Education for the use of federal funds. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit more about those loans. The health professional student loan has a 5% fixed interest rate. The grace period is 12 months. You do not start accruing interest until you start your grace period, which again is 12 months after you graduate. It is need-based, and parental income is for fiscal year 2022 is required. The direct subsidized loan has a 7.05% fixed interest rate. It is unsubsidized, meaning it is not need-based. The grace period is 6 months, and there's a 1.057% origination fee. So once you determine how much money you want to receive, the Department of Education will deduct 1.057% from the amount that's called your gross amount. And we don't see that, and you won't see that either. On the direct graduate plus loan, interest rate is a little higher. It's 8.05%. The grace period is 6 months. The origination fee on it is quite different from the unsubsidized. It is 4.228%. Again, that comes off the top of whatever amount you borrow. You must pass a credit check, which is good for 180 days. If you do not pass the credit check, you are allowed to get an endorser or a cosigner. Next slide, please. Also, we offer federal work study. Those are part-time jobs on campus, and we are going to offer some in the community. The pay ranges from $15 to $19 per hour. It is need-based, so you must qualify based on your FAFSA information. for work study, and you will be paid monthly via direct deposit. If you happen to get a job in the community, and typically those are going to be tutoring positions, they pay $16 per hour. Next slide, please. Other aid available are veterans benefits. So if you are a veteran or you're a dependent of a veteran, they can allow you to use whatever leftover benefits they have, educational benefits, that is. We also offer military scholarships. There's the Indian Health Service Scholarship. You must qualify and be able to prove that you are a descendant or part of an Indian tribe. There's the Arkansas loan. That's $5,000 a year forgivable. And you must be a recipient of an Arkansas contract seat. And the same with North Carolina. That's the loan forgiveness program. It's $14,000 per year. You must be a North Carolina resident and have a minimum 3.220 GPA. Next slide, please. So this is how the process works. When you complete your FAFSA or start your FAFSA, you need to make sure that SCO school code is in there, and that's the 003517. Again, and I should have taken this out, you can't provide parents' income anymore on your FAFSA, but we will be sending out information on how to do that. You will use the RS Direct Data Exchange tool to upload your tax information if you worked into your FAFSA. If you were not born in the United States and have an alien registration number, you need to provide that. And then FAFSA is going to determine your financial aid. In the past, if you filled a FAFSA before, your aid was based on what's called your expected family contribution, the EFC. The EFC is no longer. Now, the government is using something called a student aid index. Of course, you will get that information in your FAFSA. Next slide, please. So how will you receive your information and your money? We will send award emails. You can also go out to your net partner account and you have to accept your awards online. Then we will send the information to our accounting department. And all of this will, once the accounting department gets the information, it will be dispersed to the loan servicers. We disperse funds 10 days prior to the start of class each semester. And once, again, accounting receives your funds, they will take out what you owe the school, and then they will provide you the leftover funds in a refund that will be sent directly to your personal checking account. So you need to make sure that you have your personal checking account on file, and you can contact the accounting department and they will tell you how to do that. Next slide, please. So things you need to know, if you want to work in the work study program, we need a copy of your Social Security card. You have to complete an I-9 and a W-4. You can see your loans from your undergrad at www.nslsds, that's the National Student Loan Database System. Some apartments will require proof of income, and you can use your award letter as proof. And of course, you know, if you're taking out student loans, if you receive scholarships, all of that will be on your award letter. I mentioned logging into NetPartner. That is where you have to accept your aid. That's where you're going to see the FERPA form as well as the Student Rights and Responsibilities form. And then you will also see if you if we require more information, such as the master promissory note, interest loan counseling. Next slide, please. If you have any questions, you can contact me. My name, phone number, and email address is listed. Also, Ms. Del Rita Branch is our financial aid officer. She's responsible for the federal work study program. Her phone number and email is listed. And then we have a fax number. We have an alternative phone number, and we have a toll-free number. Next slide, please. So every dollar counts. So we're emphasizing again that you need to live within your budget. If you move to Memphis, I think our first day of class for fall is September 3rd. So you will not receive funds until that day. So if you move here prior to September, please be prepared to pay your rent, either with the help of parents or if you have money saved up, because you won't have federal financial aid funds until after you start class. Next slide, please. How can you budget for your first year? Make sure you get roommates, cook and prepare meals, utilities, no cable, just internet and Netflix. And these are just some suggestions. We're not saying you have to live that way, but it will help you manage your budget. Carpool where you can. Kroger has a great gas card. And then use apps to reduce costs on purchases for food, entertainment, etc. Next slide, please. Some recommended apps are listed here. Groupon, it's good for oil changes, entertainment, clothes. And I'm not going to read all of these to you. As Ms. Cunningham said, this presentation is being recorded. And so you can access this information from the recording. I personally like the Gas Buddy. I use it to find the lowest gas prices around town. Living social events in your area. But there are several apps that will assist you when budgeting. Next slide, please. Some budgeting tips and spending tips as well. Talk to second and third year students. They have the wisdom from trial and error. Be careful with impulse purchases. You are free to stop by the financial aid office and talk to us and make sure that before you make that impulse purchase, that you're still within your budget and your aid will cover it. Then ways to keep busy and avoid spending is streamlining, exercising, free virtual events, etc. Just remember to tell your money where you go. You are in control of how you spend your money. Next slide, please. Okay, so at this time, if you have any questions, we are ready to entertain those questions.
All right, so if you guys wouldn't mind using the chat feature at the bottom of your screen if you have any questions, and then I'll be sure to read those to Ms. Hunt Davenport and get your answers.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham.
Alrighty, so we have a question here. If you were to accept a military scholarship, how long must you serve? Are there companies that partake in loan payment programs post optometry school? So that's a bit of a two-part question.
So if you accept a military scholarship, you will need to talk with whichever branch of service that scholarship is coming from, and they will advise you on the terms of service based on that scholarship. That is not something that SCO has any control over. And was there a part two to that?
Yes. Are there companies that partake in the loan payment programs post optometry school?
There are some companies, and you will be advised on those companies before you graduate. At this point, those companies only work with students, again, who have graduated and have their actual OD degree. VSP is one.
Awesome, thank you. And then we have another question from Trevor. As a college sophomore, what should I be doing now in terms of setting up a net partner account and anything else?
So we will notify you when it's time to do that. So it's too early right now, but we will notify you when it's time to do that.
All righty, I'm not seeing any other questions currently. Ms. Hunt Davenport, are there any, while we are waiting to see if there are any last questions, is there anything that you would like to leave our students with, our participants with, any last bits of advice or anything like that?
Well, so if you do have questions, you do have my email address, lhunt-davenport@sco.edu. Please feel free to reach out and we will respond in a very timely manner. And I do look like I see 2 more questions in the chat.
Very good. So we have a couple of questions. Does interest begin to accrue while you are in school on the direct unsubsidized loan? And when is the grace period? So we'll answer that one first.
So interest starts accruing as soon as the direct unsubsidized and Grad Plus loans, as soon as they are dispersed. And the grace period is 6 months, meaning you go into repayment 6 months after you graduate. On the the health professional student loans, the interest does not start accruing until 12 months after you graduate.
All right, thank you. And the second part of that question was, can you explain the 6-month grace period for that loan, which you kind of addressed, but do you have anything else to add on that point?
Just that that grace period is designed for you to have time to find a job so that you can start repaying your loans. So the government is giving you 6 months before you go into repayment.
All right, very good. So any other questions? Any other questions at all?
And again, feel free to reach out if you have questions that you didn't think of during this presentation. You can always send them later.
All right, then. So with that, this brings us to the end of our webinar. I know we have covered a lot of information, but I hope that this has been of assistance to you as you start on your optometric journey. Please join us next month for a webinar on the student services and resources offered here at SCO. If you haven't done so already, I invite you to request more information by signing up for our inquiry form. You will receive a personal advisor and a personal brochure with information relevant to your goals and experiences. Thank you to Michelle Hunt Davenport for sharing your time and experiences, and a special thank you to all of our attendees who have joined us live. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.